Hello everyone and welcome to week 3 of the Design for Online Learning series. This week, as you know, we're going to be online, be virtual and asynchronous. I just wanted to give you a quick walkthrough of this week in case it's at all confusing. And this online piece is going to be open from today's Thursday evening, so it's going to be open Friday all the way to next Friday. So there's some things for you to complete before we get back together next Friday. And just a quick reminder that next Friday we are in K209 rather than K203. So when you go into our shared shell, this is what you'll see because you're in as a student. So on the left-hand navigation, you're going to go to course documents, and you'll see week 1, 2, and 3, and I've clicked inside week 3 resources. So here you're going to have a quick introduction. You're going to have a to-do list. So these are all the activities that you need to complete before next Friday. So we have part 1 and part 2. This is split into interaction within your online course and then looking at information design. So there's going to be a video for you to watch. It's actually this video I'm creating right now. Then you're going to have 2 readings. One is in your binder, one is located online. Then you're going to participate in a wiki. Then we move on to part 2, which is a much shorter part. There's going to be another video explaining some key concepts. Again, there's some readings, and these ones are all located in your week 3 binder section 3 of your binder. And then there's going to be a quick quiz. It's a self-check quiz, and that will prepare you for what we're going to do on Friday in class. So that's next Friday in K209. Okay. So this is week 3, as I said. When we're looking at the first part, so this is part 1, we're looking at interaction, and I just want to give you some key concepts to prepare you for the readings and also prepare you to participate in the wiki. So when we talk about interaction, there are 4 types of interaction. There's the ones that we all know about, so student to content, student to teacher, student to student, and then there's the 4th overarching interaction, and that's student to interface. And in our case, the interface is Blackboard. Okay, and we're going to talk about how often and then what kind of quality are we looking for. So again, when we look at interaction, let me just pull this up here. So student to student, student to teacher, student to content, and like I said, student to interface. So this purple circle represents Blackboard. And the reason why everything happens within this is if students are having problems with Blackboard, they don't know how to use the blog, they can't easily navigate. It's sort of similar to your students. You know, they can get to the door of your classroom, but they can't get in. They can see that some cool things are happening in there, but they can't participate in a level that is meaningful to them. And all of this is going to be elaborated on in the readings, but like I said, I just wanted to give you some overview. So when we look at what are the purposes of these different types of interaction, so when you have student to student and student to content, this is where you can have some discourse. This is where you can get your students discussing the content and interacting with each other through the lens of the content. We're looking at student to teacher and student to student. This is us setting up the climate. This is us, the assignment instructions. When we have a discussion board, we always have the first post. We are also going into those discussions periodically and you know, correcting any misconceptions, but also dealing with maybe disagreements that happen, or if it's that old term netiquette. You know, what is acceptable in your in-class with discussions, what is acceptable for your online with discussions and interactions with each other. And then we look at student to teacher and student to content. Well, as we said on the first week and the second week, part of our job as an online teacher is selecting those resources, those guiding materials, setting up, if you're looking at problem-based, giving them the resources to solve those problems. If you're looking at experiential, it's when they come back from that real-world experience and then giving them more information. And if you're looking at constructivism, it's okay, well, what can we draw out that you already know, what structures do you already have, and here's more resources to either correct misconceptions or build on that foundation. And the constructivist group said it so well with, it could be a shaky foundation. So how can we shore up the foundation of their understanding? And then, of course, in the perfect world, learning is at the center of this. So when all these things come together in an online course, this is when you get that really deep social learning. So we know that people are social in nature. The majority of people are social in nature. And the type of course online, the more true distance course where you are all alone, you don't have interaction, you're not sure even how many other people are in the class with you, can be very disengaging and very difficult for most people to learn without being able to discuss their ideas with others, get feedback. It can be very disheartening to a lot of our students. And if any of you have taken online learning that is that true distance form, we'll talk about next week how that made you feel as a student. So just to elaborate that on a bit more. So when we're looking at this is teacher to student, student to student, and then we have our content here, we use the content as a lens. So yes, we have people talking, but we have them talking about your course content because as we all know, we have only 14 weeks, in some cases less, and we have a lot of things that we need to quote unquote get through. So whenever we're having people discuss, this is time consuming to set it up, to moderate it. We always want to make sure that the content is the lens that we're using. So you could think of it as an artifact that people are discussing, but always going back to that content of your course. We do see sometimes people will have a sort of a water cooler discussion board or something like that in their course. Normally you can have tumbleweeds blowing through it. There's not a lot going on there. It's the core work where you're working with the content that is sort of the meat and potatoes of your course. Okay, so that's me quickly in and out. This video should be under 8 minutes. Your task for this week is to think about how do I foster this type of interaction in the classroom. So myself as the teacher to my students, how do I get my students to students interacting, and what tools do I use to get my students interacting with the content. So you're going to first think about that, and then you're going to think about, okay, what would or could this look like online? What are some tools I could use, what I've seen people do to get these 3 types of interaction, because as I said, Blackboard is our 4th one, and you're going to participate in a wiki. And you're going to have, for those 3 areas for you to fill in. And I ask that after you put in your comments, so if you're working on teacher to student, so you put a comment, please put afterwards your initials, just so we know, I can see what everyone's done in a wiki, but for the other people who's commented. And then when we get back together on next Friday, face-to-face, we're going to talk about what supports or resources could I provide my students with to help with this type of interaction. Because it's great for us to say, okay, we're going to have a blog and we're going to have a wiki and we're going to have all these things. But if our students don't know how to participate in a wiki or have never heard the word wiki before, then they can't really communicate. They can't engage till probably later on in the course, if at all. So we'll talk about what can we do to help those students move forward. So again, in the wiki, you're going to answer those 2 questions: is how do I foster this type of interaction in the classroom? And then moving along, what could this or what would this look like online? Alright, that's the end of part 1 video, and I've just over 8 minutes, so I met my goal. Okay guys, and I'll see you in the wiki.